Zalario tersely confirmed their enemy's arrival, met with quiet acknowledgement from his allies. Milim had crossed over 20,000 kilometers in mere hours, yet it was clear she hadn't even pushed her limits. Despite the overwhelming odds, Leon, Elmesia, and Sylvia steeled themselves. The battle was inevitable. The moment Milim entered their sight, they attacked. Their training under Sylvia allowed for seamless coordination. Their ultimate abilities, Leon's King of Light Surya, Elmesia's King of the Wind Vayu, and Sylvia's King of Thunder Indra, enhancing their speed for aerial combat. Though wingless, they stabilized space itself to move freely, taking turns striking Milim in swift, relentless cycles. Leon struck first with Meltbreaker, a technique akin to Hinata's Crumble Magic Spirit Slash, designed to dismantle defenses at a subatomic level. His holy flame thin sword radiated the deadly power of disintegration, capable of slaying even a demon lord. Yet Milim didn't react. She continued flying toward the sacred tree, unfazed. When their paths crossed, Leon felt an impact, but it was negligible. Only then did he grasp the sheer durability of Milim's stampede. His strike had been nothing more than a scratch. Sylvia's follow-up attack fared no better, confirming the bitter truth Milim's defenses were beyond their reach. Leon, frustrated, struggled to accept it, while Sylvia resigned herself to reality. Delaying her, their only objective, now seemed nearly impossible. But Elmesia reacted quickly, amplifying their speed with the wind's blessing, reigniting their resolve. Leon and Sylvia launched another wave of rapid strikes, forcing Milim into a defensive cycle. For the first time, she reacted, a minuscule twitch. Triumph surged through them. Then, in an instant, a violent gust flung them away. A surge of magical energy erupted, devastating the area where they had been just moments before. The explosion, a mere flick of Milim's annoyance, made one thing brutally clear: she had barely acknowledged their existence. Elmesia reacted first, pushing Leon and Sylvia out of harm's way. Her pale face reflected the grim reality of their battle as she warned them to stay alert, an unspoken order they silently accepted. Zalario and Feldway faced off midair, tension thick between them. Feldway accused Zalario of betrayal. But to Zalario, the real betrayal was Feldway's attempt to control him. Feldway denied it, claiming he only sought unity. His rule is absolute. Zalario saw the truth. Feldway, isolated too long, had warped ideals. Yet, his power rivaled the Star King Dragon, making a direct fight reckless. He stalled, reminding Feldway that Veldanava never wished for destruction. Feldway scoffed, arguing that unchecked freedom led to ruin. Their ideologies clashed. Zalario believed in balance, while Feldway saw evolution as inevitable, even if it meant the world's end. His resentment toward Veldanava fueled his resolve. Zalario, disgusted by his selfishness, knew words had failed. With no choice left, he drew his blade. Feldway, unfazed, revealed his own weapon. In that moment, Zalario understood their friendship was lost. Swallowing his regrets, he struck first. The battle had begun. By then, the group fighting Milim had already been pushed to their limits. Every moment was a desperate struggle, where a single mistake meant annihilation. Their only chance was to keep Milim off balance, preventing her from unleashing Drago Nova, a single attack that would erase everything. Leon and Sylvia attacked in turns, while Elmesia adapted their strategy. Defense was impossible. They relied entirely on speed, trying to disorient Milim. Each was a legendary warrior, among the strongest in existence, yet their evasive tactics were almost pitiful, a tragic necessity against Milim's overwhelming power. Then, the breaking point came. Even in her berserk state, Milim's combat instincts remained razor-sharp. She quickly identified Elmesia as the core of their coordination and focused solely on eliminating her. Their fragile strategy collapsed instantly. With her attention undivided, their attempts to misdirect her became useless. Elmesia could only flee, but even that wasn't enough. Milim's reaction speed skyrocketed, and their supposed advantage in acceleration vanished. Worse, Elmesia was the slowest of the trio. It was only a matter of time before she was caught. Leon and Sylvia, desperate, found no openings to intervene. Lightning attacks failed, and they had no way to stop Milim's advance. Elmesia, too, began to accept her fate. No matter how erratically she moved, magic sense allowed Milim to track her with perfect precision. In her final moments of clarity, Elmesia marveled at the sheer magnitude of Milim's power. And yet, a thought struck her. If Milim, even in this uncontrollable state, was so terrifying, then how extraordinary was Rimuru, who had once fought and subdued her. The realization came too late, but it only deepened her admiration for the ruler who had united the monsters and led them towards civilization. Elmesia had always known that figures of immense influence were rare, yet Rimuru, despite being a monster, was an anomaly. Under his rule, progress had surged at an almost frightening pace. When she first learned he had a primordial demon serving him, she questioned his sanity. When that number grew to 4, she nearly screamed. She had once asked what he would do if someone like Diablo went berserk. His calm response, he'd stop him before that happened. At the time, she dismissed it as arrogance. But now, facing the unstoppable force that was Milim, she finally understood the weight behind his words. She recalled their time scheming with Mile, dismantling corruption, and reshaping nations. Rimuru had built more than an ideal. He created a tangible system where no one was left behind. Despite his kindness and carefree nature, he was unfathomably cunning. A wild card, a trump card, his very existence was reassuring. But now that reassurance was gone. Rimuru had disappeared. More than Luminous's apocalyptic proclamation, more than Milim's berserk rampage, his absence unsettled her most. She had always believed that as long as he was around, things would work out. Now, responsibility fell on her shoulders. She had prepared for this, yet here she was, seconds from death, powerless. Milim was closing in. The game of tag around the sacred tree was ending. Sylvia's desperate cry and Leon's strained command echoed in her mind, urging Elmesia not to give up. She understood that surrender meant death, yet survival seemed unattainable. Leon, eyes blazing with determination, was charging toward her as if demanding she fight fate. But it was too late. Even if he reached her, they would both be annihilated. Milim wasn't just a warrior, she was a force of nature. Legends couldn't capture the terrifying truth. The energy around her would disintegrate anything on impact. Accepting her fate, Elmesia thought of Leon, hoping he wouldn't blame himself. He was often misunderstood, but to her, he was a cherished junior apprentice. If she could do one last thing for him, she would. Facing inevitable doom, she closed her eyes, only for an unexpected cry to suddenly tear through the battlefield. Nothing could have outrun Milim. Nothing should have reached Elmesia in time. It had to be an illusion, a trick of her fading consciousness. But the impact never came. Something was wrong. Hesitantly, Elmesia opened her eyes and saw the impossible. A small dragon, barely a meter long, had placed itself between her and Milim, shielding her with its own body. The sight made Milim freeze. She had seen the dragon. She had heard its voice. And for the first time in this brutal battle, she hesitated. That single instant saved Elmesia's life. Then, floating gracefully in the air, cradling the small dragon, was a young girl. Her black and silver hair shimmered with an ethereal glow, her beauty otherworldly. Distantly, Leon was shouting, his voice frantic. But Elmesia barely noticed. Her attention was locked on the girl, one of Rimuru's children, one of his most cherished. And more than that, she knew who this girl truly was. With a calm voice, the girl gently scolded the dragon, then entrusted it to Elmesia. Turning toward Milim, she stood firm, unshaken. The message was clear. She would face the demon lord herself.